Hey everyone, I'm here to give you just a really quick run through for the integumentary system. There will be maybe 4, 5, 6 odd questions on the integument that are going to be on your lab exam this week. So let's take a quick look. Hopefully you've already been looking at the model study guides for the integumentary system. I think they're fairly straightforward. Let me just point out one or two things. For the integument, we have two different models and they do look really, really similar. So I'm only going to show you the one. Make sure that you can identify the layers of the epidermis. It's going to be the stratum corneum, which is the outermost layer, the stratum lucidum, which you see only on the cutout that's over on the side here on this model. It's the white area, stratum granulosum below that, and then stratum spinosum would be the deepest layer. Remember that the stratum basale is only the single bottom layer of cells of the epidermis. The papillary dermis is where we have all these interdigitations of epidermis and dermis, and that is areolar connective tissue. And then deep to that is the reticular layer, which is dense irregular connective tissue. There are a couple of corpuscles for you to know, and so the trick there is that the Meissners are smaller, and they are right at the junction between epidermis and dermis. So think of the Meissners as being mini. Those M's go together. The Pacinian corpuscles, those ones are deeper and they are much larger. So it would be like this guy here. We have some sudoriferous glands. You could also call this an eccrine gland. That's the specific type of sudoriferous gland it is. If you write sweat gland, you're only going to get half credit. So make sure if I point this out, you give me sudoriferous gland. And then we've got our hair follicle here with that hair or dermal papilla. So you could say hair papilla or dermal papilla, that's fine, which is the little indentation where blood vessels come into the hair follicle. The root of the hair is beneath the skin, and then the shaft would extend off the surface of the skin. All right, let's look at histology real quick. So we also need to identify the layers of the epidermis here. So you might see this slide with the simple question of what tissue type is this. So remember, this is keratinized stratified squamous. We have the keratinized stuff out here. So this would be our stratum corneum. That's all the dead keratinized cells. And then you see that dark layer at the top here. That's the stratum granulosum, and it's only a few layers deep, that stratum granulosum. Below that would be stratum spinosum, and then that very bottom layer of cells here is going to be the stratum basale. We also see some areolar connective tissue in the papillary region of the dermis, and then down here is dense irregular connective tissue in the reticular dermis. Here's just a closer view of the epidermis, so you can see some of those same things. So here is that stratum corneum. This would be stratum lucidum, and remember, lucidum is only present in thick skin, so it's where we go from sort of a darker purple here to that lighter pink. Sometimes it looks more clear. It just depends on how the slide has been stained. Here is stratum granulosum. You can also kind of see the granules in this layer, which give that layer its name. This would be spinosum, and then just this bottommost layer of cells is stratum basale. And then we've got papillary dermis here, and this is actually one of those Meissner's corpuscles that's being pointed out. So here's papillary dermis, and then just underneath that would be reticular dermis. All right, the last thing I wanted to show you is the hair follicles and how they look on histology. So here would be hypodermis down here, and often the hair follicles will extend down into the hypodermis, which is adipose tissue. So it's our fat tissue. So if I zoomed in on this, I'd see all those empty looking cells that are filled up with fat. This is my hair follicle right here. On some of the slides you can actually see a hair in that follicle. Here we just see the empty space where the hair would be. Here's the hair bulb at the bottom where it kind of widens out to a bulb, and you can also see the hair dermal papilla, which is this lighter colored indentation here, and that's where blood vessels infiltrate the follicle. All right, I think that's about it for the integument. Again, there will just be a few questions on this, but don't forget about this list, and email me if you have any questions. I'll see you all this week. Happy studying.